Good evening, everyone. I'm Devashish Bhave, Institute Secretary for Academic Affairs and Head Employee. A very warm welcome from both the UGAC as well as KCDH. We at the Undergraduate Academic Council work towards making a student's life in the institute smoother and as fruitful as possible. So we bring to you this weekend on digital health in collaboration with the Koita Center for Digital Health. KCDH at IIT Bombay offers a minor program and an IEEE program in healthcare informatics to UG students. So KCDH is the first of its kind in India, focused on driving academic programs, research, and industry collaboration in digital health. So let us take a look at a small video to get acquainted with the center.
Improving healthcare is a key priority for all countries in the world. Digital health has proven to be a very effective tool in improving quality, access, and cost of healthcare. Consequently, digital health is one of the fastest growth areas in technology. India too is investing heavily in digital health technology. The government is rolling out the Ayushman Bharat digital mission across India, which will drive new healthcare solutions, similar to the impact of Aadhaar and UPI on financial solutions.
Digital health has substantial benefits for healthcare and its stakeholders, patients, hospitals, government organizations, doctors. We are really excited to support IIT Bombay in setting up the Center for Digital Health.
Koita Center for Digital Health, or KCDH, drives research, entrepreneurship, and employment in digital health.
The center is the first of its kind in India, and our vision is to establish KCDH as a globally renowned center in digital health and digital health informatics.
KCDH is proud to have a world-class advisory board with renowned members from diverse backgrounds, including directors of renowned hospitals, professors from top universities, and a senior executive of leading health tech firms.
We offer world-class academic programs in healthcare informatics, and we groom an exceptional cadre of students. Our students work on fascinating projects through internships and placements at some of the best companies in digital health.
The center offers a wide range of courses in computer science, AI and machine learning, medical imaging, healthcare data management, healthcare economics, and healthcare ethics. These courses are taught not just by IIT faculty, but by faculty visiting from various leading hospitals and research institutes.
Partnering with expert clinical professionals, that's our key priority area. The center is actively involved in applied research, development activities, and facilitates collaborations between engineers, clinicians to solve real-world healthcare challenges with access to clinical data and expertise.
We are establishing collaborations with leading hospitals, healthcare organizations, and healthcare regulators to drive collaborations in research and teaching programs, funding, and policy. The center is committed to providing meaningful internship and career opportunities for our students.
Digital healthcare is poised for a massive transformation in India. We are excited that the center can contribute to accelerating digital health adoption in India, which in turn will positively impact healthcare outcomes. We invite you all to join us and be part of our center.
So with that, let us begin the session. So I'd first like to introduce the panel for our session today. We have with us Dr. Bhagwati Prasad, the Chief Operating Officer at KCDH, who completed his BSc and MSc degree in physics from the University of Rajasthan, completed his MTech in Biomedical Engineering from BHU, and his PhD from IIT Bombay. He then went on to work with Randox, Span Biotronics, and Accurx Biomedical in R&D for 16 years. Dr. Prasad has also worked in the Wellinger Institute of Management as the Senior Associate Dean, Healthcare Management for 5 years. We also have with us today Professor Abir, faculty at the Department of CSE and an expert in machine learning. Sir completed his BTech in Electrical Engineering and MTech in Control Systems Engineering, both from IIT Kharagpur. He received his PhD from the CSC department at IIT Kharagpur and did his postdoctoral research at the Max Planck Institute, Germany. His PhD work was supported by the Google India PhD Fellowship. So I hope that you all are just as excited to hear from our panel today. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Dr. Prasad to talk about the healthcare sector and what a life ahead in digital healthcare looks like.
Thank you. Thank you, Devashish, for the generous introduction. And I have a slide deck. I'll have 15 slides or so. So good afternoon, everybody. Hope all of you and your family members are well. I wish this was a physical offline interaction, then we could have had more interaction. But I'll use my slide deck to show you a little bit, give you an overview of healthcare sector and digital health. Just hold on for a second. I'll switch off my video so that you are not distracted by video and you can pay attention to the slide deck. Okay. Devashish, can you confirm that you can see my slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So let me begin. It's 10 past 5 and I'll take about 12 minutes of time. So I wanted to start with giving you an overview of healthcare sector per se, because most of the people think that healthcare is about hospitals. So hospitals, of course, are a major part of the sector. But I thought I'll give a quick introduction to what are the other segments. So hospitals, of course, almost everybody knows, and hospitals have two parts. Public hospitals like AIIMS Delhi, Kasturba, KM or Tata Memorial Hospital. There are private hospitals in Mumbai, for example, Apollo Hospital, Jaslook, Hinduja, and Nanavati Hospital. That is first segment. Second segment is the pharmaceutical, which is, these are the manufacturers which make chemical entities or medicines for human or animal use. Some of the players, Indian players are Alchem, Biocon, Cipla, DRL, that is Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, Lupin, Sun Pharma. These are Indian companies, and MNCs are Abbott, Bayer, GSK, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and Sanofi. Third segment within healthcare sector is diagnostics. So these are the companies which are taking body fluids like blood sample and then providing some analysis of those. So some examples, I'm sure you've heard about these names: Dr. Lal's Wet Lab, Metropolis, SRL Laboratories, Suburban Diagnostics, and Thyrocare. Fourth segment is the medical equipment and the supplies manufacturer. So these companies manufacture, consumables to implants, to large equipment like MRI or PET scan machine, as simple as, let's say, a Band-Aid or injection, that is also a medical device, or it could be a pacemaker or a cardiac stent. Some of the Indian companies are Merrill, Polymed, Transasia, Trivitron, and Sajanan Medical Technologies. MNCs in this sector are Lebron, GE, Medtronic, Philips, and Siemens. Fifth segment is insurance. So these are the companies which are sort of covering the risk of hospitalization. And in case of hospitalization or other cases, they reimburse the medical expenditure. So some of the companies are like ICICI, Lombard, LIC, NIC, Manipal, Sina, etc. Some more are listed there. And the last segment, what is listed is telemedicine. So of course, telemedicine, these are the companies which are providing healthcare delivery or services in rural or remote areas. But in addition to that, I have also included some pure play healthcare IT firms here. So 1mg, CureFit, GeoHealth Hub, Pecto, these are examples of telemedicine companies, and CTS Tech, Cerner, Epic, McKesson, etc. These are examples of healthcare IT firms which will be providing services to these other 5 segments within healthcare. So this is where I thought we can start, and hopefully you get an overview of what type of companies are there. And also maybe if you want, you can make a note of these companies. In a way, if you are in healthcare, these are your potential recruiters also. Next, quickly, I wanted to talk about, what is happening or how much revenue is being generated all over the world in healthcare sector. So healthcare sector for entire world contributes to approximately 12% of world's total GDP. And in terms of value, and this is by the pre-COVID, so not influenced by COVID, where it could be abnormally high. So even in 2020, this number was about $10 trillion. And when we convert it to rupees, it is about 750 lakh crore rupees. And this figure was further expected to rise at a rate of 5% through 2023. And overall, world over, approximately 2% of world's manpower is engaged in healthcare sector. This graph is for US specifically, and let me use a pen so that I can show you. So this is for a US market, by the way, and these particular chart lists the 20 fastest growing jobs from 2020 to 2030. So in the next decade, what is expected in US? On the x-axis is the median annual wage, which is in US dollars. So you can see 20K, 200K to 120K. On the y-axis is the percentage change that is likely to take place, is what is in a decade, that is on the y-axis. And then there is these various circle or different sizes. So this size, the size of the circles are indicated here. And then there are colors. So blue is, all the blue circles are about health. Orange ones are computer and mathematics and so on. So first, so these are the, by the way, 20 fastest growing jobs as projected in US for next 20 years. And then as probably you can immediately see that the number of blue circles are very, very high. So actually these are 9 out of 20 are in healthcare. Number one is that. And if you do a additional degree in healthcare, where are you? You will be here in this place, medical and health service managers. Okay. So if you see the salaries here, approximately 100K, 110K or so, and the percentage increase or the increase in number of jobs that is likely to take place is about 25 to 30%. So again, the idea behind showing you this slide and the message behind this is that there is a huge potential world over in healthcare sector. And if you are, by the way, computer or mathematical, those are also overlapping here. So data scientists and information security statistician, those are overlapping with this circle for healthcare. Let's look quickly at what is happening in India. So in India also, healthcare is the 4th largest recruiter. The first 3 also I can name so that you will understand. The first one is agriculture, second is retail, and third is real estate. And the 4th is healthcare, by the way. And my belief is in the next couple of years, healthcare will take over real estate and healthcare will become the 3rd largest recruiter in India as well. Overall, approximately 5.5% of India's GDP is spent in healthcare, and out of that, about 1.6% is spent by government, and the rest comes from private pockets. In terms of value, in 2020, as per the IBF report of February 2022, about 372 crores is expected to be the market size. $1 billion is supposed to be the market size of Indian healthcare. And compared to 2016, the growth rate is the CAGR compound annual growth rate is more than 22%. Now imagine even pre-COVID times, our country's GDP is growing at approximately 6%, 7%, and healthcare sector is growing at a CAGR of 22%. So that again indicates that healthcare market is going much faster rate compared to when the entire country's GDP, and nearly this is more than 3 times the country's GDP. Then I thought I can include, because there are some questions about what do health informaticians do. So I have tried to keep the answer very, very simple, and even I've included an example there. So as far as the theoretical definition is concerned, I'll say, well, informaticians collect, transmit, analyze, store, manage data. And in case of health, you just insert the health word and say, collect, transmit, analyze, store, and manage health data instead of normal data. That's the theoretical definition of what healthcare informaticians do. But to really understand, I thought I can take a simple example for you. So imagine there is a meeting that is taking place with, let's say, DOSA and the director at IIT Bombay, and some discussion is taking place there where the Dean of Student Affairs says that there are a lot of cases of diabetes in young population in IIT campus. And the director asks a very simple question: how many IIT students had diabetes last year? So imagine this seems like a very, very simple question to answer. How many IIT students had diabetes last year? So you want to understand, right? And again, theoretically, you can collect, transmit, analyze, store these data, and try to come up with some. But the answer is actually more complicated than what may appear on the surface. What is it? So first of all, we need to define what is last year. So what last year could be a calendar year, it could be an academic year, it could be month to month, or maybe last 365 days. So you need to define, because you are ultimately handling data and you are able to provide some information, concrete information to some higher authority who is going to do something with that information that you provide. Similarly, on what is diabetes, on the surface it may seem, oh, it's so easy to answer, but somebody may have, glucose level of more than 140 after meal or more than 100 before meal. It may be random glucose reading. It could be one reading. Somebody may have 3 times reading in a year. Somebody may be diabetic for entire year. Somebody may be having a higher reading for only 1 time in the year. Whom do you call diabetic? That itself is a challenge. Whose results are taken at home? Are you going to consider the results, or only those who visited a pathology laboratory or IIT hospital, only their results you are going to consider? So even defining what is diabetes or who is diabetic becomes very, very complicated to answer a simple question. And it may sound funny, but even you have to now define from data point of view, what is IITB student? Whether all registered students are to be considered for this purpose. What about the people who are not in campus? What about people who have quit midway? What about people like PhD students who have finished midway or PhD students who have joined midway? Should I consider them or not? Or if you recall, the original question started with young students. So they are QIP PhD candidates who are more than 35 years. Should I consider them or not? What about some foreign students who are in campus? So again, who is to be considered as IITB student becomes complicated to provide an answer to such a simple question. So in short, what informaticians do is they ask intelligent questions. Some of the questions are listed here to provide some useful answers to some higher authority. So broadly speaking, this is what a health informatician will do. So maybe this example you can keep in mind whenever you wonder what an informatician does typically. Also, just to illustrate what type of gaps are there, in a way, these gaps indicate some opportunity for startups. At least 8 gaps I have shown here, and I'm sure there are hundreds of such gaps in India which are there. So, for example, you can get assured delivery of pizza in 30 minutes, but can you get ambulance in 30 minutes? You can transfer your bag across different airlines when you travel, let's say overseas, from one airline to other line seamlessly. Can you transfer your treatment records from one hospital to another? Try it. Not possible today. We can see restaurant ratings easily on many apps. Can I see ratings of hospitals? Probably not. We can easily find a plain seat, right, on a mobile. Can I find an empty ICU bed in case of COVID? Probably not. We can compare different airline airfares, again, on some app or some website. That can I compare the treatment charges of different hospitals? Again, it's a huge gap there. You can track your portfolio, maybe on your family's stock portfolio. Can you track your father's diabetes status or trends for last year or last few years? Tough. You can find a lost front on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And there are other websites as well. Can you find a blood group, especially if it tends to be rare? Again, a tough thing. Also, you can track taxi easily on a map, but you can't fully track an ambulance. I'm just taking, these are the examples. In a way, these are at least 8 startup ideas you can see. So I've shown here some of the gaps that exist in Indian healthcare. And by the way, these are not just for Indian market. Similar gaps exist in most of the countries. And in a way, it tells you the contrast between what is there in other services and what is lacking in healthcare market. So in a way, these are which appear like a gaps or problems or pain points are actually opportunities. And as I said, at least 8 startup ideas you can see on this screen itself. And once again, if you start to think about it, how to solve this problem, how to transfer records between one hospital to another, how do I compare hospital charges? Once again, it becomes a health informatics problem, an example which I took in the previous slide. And quickly, just like we had, National Payment Corporation of India started UPI, and because of that, we can seamlessly now transfer money from one bank to another. And now you are young, but so probably you're used to it. But in my times, those things did not exist. But now, point is that you can, using UPI, you can transfer money seamlessly from one bank to another bank, right, within a matter of seconds. Similarly, national authorities coming up with unified health interface, and that is going to allow us seamless transfer of data between hospitals, labs, and doctors. I will just leave it at that. And this itself is going to have tremendous scope for jobs, doing a lot of research, startup ideas in digital health for next 10, 20 years in India also. That's the core message I want to just leave with. Then there are lots of these big tech companies which were not traditionally in healthcare. So Alphabet, which is owner of Google, so Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, each of these companies are investing in healthcare. I'll just leave it at that. And I want to just show you a few seconds of this particular video. This is Apple CEO Tim Cook, just first 15 seconds or so.
If you zoom out into the future and you look back and you ask the question, what was Apple's greatest contribution to mankind? It will be about health. If you zoom out into the future and you look back and you ask the question, what was Apple's greatest contribution to mankind? It will be about health.
Apple's biggest contribution. Okay, so you heard CEO of Apple saying that if you think about Apple after a few years, Apple will be known as a health company and no longer as a mobile or device computing device company. So these are not the only tech giants which are investing in healthcare. Facebook, IBM, Intel, Oracle, tech giants, they are investing. Other companies, Samsung, Uber, Flipkart, or Walmart, they are investing in healthcare. Indian conglomerates, Adani, Reliance Group, SpiceJet, Tata, they are investing in healthcare. So what is happening? If I have to show it pictorially, again, these companies are in various sectors are entering healthcare. And if you also want, I know that some of the students currently who are doing minor or IEEE in, at KCDH, they have these backgrounds, and there could be many more students in audience today. But if you want, you can also enter healthcare. But one of the questions that you can ask is, but what do I gain in that? And I'm sure that is one of the questions that the audience members have today. So if these are your backgrounds, broadly speaking, this is what I will put. And I use this word digital health here. That you already have, you are going to get a BTech degree in one of these domains. And think of it as your next degree or additional degree will be in digital health. I've used the word digital health. You can replace it with healthcare informatics. Principle remains. So what is going to happen? So broadly speaking, at very high level view, you are going to get some skills in digital as you are also going to acquire some knowledge in healthcare sector. What is it going to do to you? It opens up your job opportunities either in digital because of your tools knowledge. So it could be AI, ML or analytics or signal processing, that is on tool side, or it could be on the domain side. So it could be healthcare IT consulting, medtech or pharma or hospital insurance. That's what, doing an extra degree in digital health or for that matter, healthcare informatics is the same thing. Does for you. So you can continue if you want in the same path. There is nothing wrong with that. But if you want to open up extra options, then having an additional degree in digital health or health informatics appropriate. So if I had to actually choose only one slide for today's presentation, this is the slide. This is the core message that I can give for today's audience that taking an additional degree in healthcare informatics or digital health opens up alternate career paths. And this is just one example of visual representation of what I'm trying to say. In either in digital side or on health side, you can get additional job opportunities. This is my second last slide, and basically this is 2-year BSc. On left hand side is the BSc Sensex, BSc Healthcare Index, and on the right hand side is Sensex Index for last 2 years. So by the way, there is a healthcare index also. So healthcare index increased by 58% in pre-COVID, and Sensex increased 37%. If you see here, the healthcare index recovered within a month's time, and the Sensex took 6 to 7 months or more than that to even come back to pre-COVID times. And as I said, the growth rate itself is much more than. So what does it indicate? So it doesn't indicate, of course, the growth, but at least it indicates two things from my point of view. One, healthcare sector is resilient, irrespective of what happens in the business environment, number one. Number two is that investment sentiments are positive for healthcare sector. So that's it. This is my last slide. This is what I want to cover today. So this is my message today, that being in healthcare sector is good. You can be a global professional. There are a lot of opportunities there. Second message that I'm trying to convey is that you are one of the first batches. I think IIT Bombay was the first place to start a program in digital health. Later I hear IIT Kanpur and IISc have started. So these are the initial times when these type of centers are being opened. So you are in a unique space before other engineering college or technology centers start such programs, that you can utilize these opportunities. You can be the leaders in healthcare. I quickly showed one slide about index. So healthcare sector is known to be recession proof. I did not say anything about the salary, but I know from my experience, I can tell you that starting salaries are good, as well as every 3 to 4 years, you can expect your salaries to double. So overall healthcare sector is well paid, and you'll be happy there. And the last thing is that you can have a fulfilling career, and at the end of the day, being in healthcare sector, you will have some difference in the sense of either you are reducing somebody's pain, you are increasing somebody's lifespan, or you are saving somebody's life. And that fulfillment that you get by working in healthcare sector, I don't think you will get in any other sector. So thank you very much for being a good audience, and do follow the KCDH social media accounts, and these handles are listed at the bottom of my slides. I've included 2 links also for IEEE and minor programs. Thank you. I've included my contact details also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that presentation. Just a note for anyone attending, you can unmute and ask questions to any of the panel at any point of time. I'd now like to ask Professor Abir a few questions specifically from KCDH. Yes, sir. So first, could you talk about your research interests and how they align with digital health?
So I have fundamentally I'm interested in designing learning models for graphs and sets, and they have a lot of applications. So one of the applications for learning with sets is that distributing prediction tasks between human and machines. So this branches out one particular area of machine learning called human-centric learning. For example, suppose there is a human in loop, and if human and machine are aware of each other, that there are presence of these two agents in decision making, then the the learning problem or decision making tasks becomes completely different from alone human or alone machine's perspective. So in medical problems, there are often the cases there is a huge crunch of practitioners. In that case, you could give machine few examples and human the other examples, so that they can distribute the prediction task among themselves, and that will improve the latency at the same point of time the prediction tasks. So in that way, I would say this human-centric learning has a lot of potential. I think uh, merely predicting a particular disease or a particular outcome of a given image or whatever, I think this has more sensible, or I would say more practical applications in healthcare sector, because even if you apply AI, you cannot leave human out of the loop. So but then if you keep human in the loop, the machine cannot take decisions as it was taking as if there was no human, right? So you have to make the machine and human aware of the presence of each other. So in that way, I think this area has a strong applications in healthcare sectors.
Okay, sir. So there was one more question that we received from the students. So how do they get to work on real world problems related to healthcare while studying at KCDH?
Yeah, so it depends on the background of the students. For example, so the thrust is both on like technology and, for example, medicine or other sectors of health. So if the thrust is on more like on technology, then I would believe that he or she has to quickly take up a project on something related to which can be applied, where technology can be applied immediately to the health problem. So the thrust will be more on the technology side, and they then take like dual degree and all to find out appropriate advisors for that. But on the other hand, if someone has a strong background on pure healthcare sector or like clinical medicine, but not so much exposure on technology, then I think he or she has to rely on someone, some collaborator who will bring that expertise, and then these two things will mix up. And that I think one has to judicially choose that which one area is the primary contributor. Of course, he has to know at some point of time, he or she has to know at some point of time that what's going on at the high level. But one has to decide what the thrust is upon for his or her perspective. Yeah.
And sir, what kind of companies hire graduates or degrees in healthcare informatics? So I think Dr. Prasad covered it.
I think it's kind of related to my last question. So it depends on the student's background. So for example, if one is purely from health, I would say like clinical medicine or so, then one can have some knowledge of technology and get hired by some lab, some clinical lab or so. On the other hand, if you have a strong background on technology and you have good understanding of healthcare informatics, then there are some technology company, for example, General Electric company, they have a strong healthcare sector. They can hire you. So one has to kind of understand one's aspiration or one's background to decide what kind of path one needs to choose. Yeah.
So, sir, expanding more on the career opportunities, can you elaborate how IIT Bombay is positioned currently to groom students for these and excel in them?
Can you tell me once again? Sorry.
Yes, sir. So, expanding on the topic of career opportunities, so how is KCDH and IIT Bombay currently positioned to groom students for these opportunities and
Oh,
excel?
I think this is a fantastic opportunity at this moment. So, for example, they're going to launch a new dual degree program. Perhaps they're already launched it, and then this is the first time I have seen, like, a pure interdisciplinary perspective is given to health, and is a formal establishment. In that way, I think there are a lot of things one can experiment with as far as the students are concerned, and can bring contributions in the table, because a student can actually collaborate with multiple faculty on the same project, um, to contribute something meaningful. Yeah. So in that way, I think this is an excellent opportunity, I would say.
Okay, so there was one more question from we received from the students. So while the current curriculum plan of KCDH allows a lot of industry collaboration, can you
Mhm.
outline how the digital healthcare market in India will look like in a few years, and how a student from the center can make use of it?
Yeah, I think this is something what Professor Prasad already chalked it out. So I think that there is a strong promise of digital healthcare in India, and I think it was a timely decision to set up such an establishment in IIT Bombay. So I believe that, of course, there is an angle of AI plus medicine, or, like, AI plus healthcare informatics, but there are uh, other sectors of boom in context of healthcare informatics. For example, IoT devices. If you want to devise, say, for example, very cheap uh, instruments that can be useful for healthcare in the context of our society. Okay, so those things, there is a large gap in that context. I think there is no formal education, or like formal course as of now, which provides that kind of expertise or that kind of training to the students. So it can be a real, I mean, it is like a real, I would say, real set of opportunities that the students will get who can take courses from computer science, statistics, and then, for example, electronics. So it will bring all these things into the same plate, and of course, biotechnology. So this will give all the expertise in the plate, and in that way, I think they can build a startup. So I will encourage the students to think about this as an option. I mean, I have encountered many students in IIT Bombay, and who has a great potential, but unfortunately they are kind of skeptical in going in formal research. So startup is, of course, an alternative to that, because startup requires you to do research. At the same point of time, it's not that kind of formal research that we do in academia, or that kind of research. So yeah, there is a lot of opportunity for pursuing career in these sectors, from research, industry, and all other perspective, like start entrepreneurship. Yeah, so there are a lot of openings, like open opportunities in this context, and it's applicable for the students from all the disciplines, not only biotechnology, but as I said, from electronics, from hardware specialists, software engineers, AI engineers, and all. There are a lot of opportunities in this.
Okay, sir. So, sir, there was one more concern that a lot of IIT Bombay students from different disciplines might want to pursue healthcare informatics,
Uh-huh.
but not all have a biology or a computer science background. So, is that a prerequisite, and are there any other prerequisites to pursue healthcare informatics?
I don't think, like, the way world is moving, one can have formal training in every possible topic. So one should be able to quickly understand what is required to perform one project. That should be done quickly, and he or she should understand the required thing to perform that project. So one has to have a high level understanding. So this comes from practice, working in a team with people from different background, and ability to communicate ideas to people who are not from the background that you are searching for. So, for example, you want to communicate one thing to an educated layman who is not from your area. You have to learn how to communicate that thing with a different level of granularity by quickly understanding the background of that particular person you are talking to. So I don't think like, formally doing coursework and set of things is that important. It's my personal opinion altogether. But if one is to really learn this thing or really jump into the career on healthcare informatics, I think one has to find a problem irrespective of the type of solution one's required, and if the problem excites, one has to delve into learning whatever techniques it is required.
Okay, sir. So there's one final question. So what were the aspects that the faculty had in mind while designing the curriculum for healthcare informatics, and what sort of vision went behind it?
Tell me once again the last statement. What kind of reasonment?
Vision went into it.
Okay, vision. Okay. So basically, first of all, when a faculty offers a course in any healthcare sector, the faculty has one background. So the faculty usually try to connect that background to whatever applications the healthcare has. So this is first of all, this is the first question. The first point that the faculty has in mind. The second thing is that it should cover courses or aspects of students of different background. For example, if for example, if I teach something on statistics or maths, and if someone who has not background in statistics or math, one should be able to appreciate that in the context of healthcare informatics. So that point has to start from the beginning of the course. So maybe like it's not the curriculum, but also kind of teaching, which is important. When you are teaching to a class, you have to understand the audience, and based on that, you basically think like what's the approach you want to take to teach a particular course. So maybe like machine learning or AI can be accessible from CS department to even the KCDH dual degree students, but possibly one who is going to teach that to the KCDH student first has to take a different approach. So the curriculum may not change, honestly. You have to still know like regression classification, but on time to time you want to connect that to existing healthcare problems.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering all the questions in such a detailed and enthusiastic manner. I would now like to invite a student that is currently studying at KCDH to share his experiences with us. So we have with us Akshat Srivastava. Akshat has completed his BTech in MEMS and is working on his DDP under Professor Ganesh Ramakrishnan in the field of active learning on medical datasets. Hi, Akshat.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Yes, Akshat. So we had a few questions for you. So first was, what was your motivation behind taking a step in the field of healthcare informatics?
So actually, since machine learning is an emerging field, so I was interested in applications of machine learning, and coincidentally, my prof was working in this field. So I took up a project under her, and I actually enjoyed working on it. So I decided to explore it further.
And what were the reasons and motives that led to your decision to pursue a master's in healthcare informatics? And how do you think it complements your bachelor's?
Yeah, so as soon as I started working in this field, I researched more on it, and I realized the potential of this sector, especially after the COVID scenario. So and luckily, say during my third year intern itself, this program was launched. So I felt like this seemed to be the perfect match. And I'm not using my material science knowledge currently in this field, but I think it might help to expand my horizons.
Okay. Uh, can you please elaborate upon your experiences and various courses that you took up at KCDH as a part of the dual degree program?
So since this is the first year of the program, the courses were run for the first time, so there were less students who took up the courses. I think that was actually good because it allowed for better interaction between profs and students, and the courses were quite informative and unique as well.
Okay.
So
So like you mentioned, so you being the first IEEE batch at KCDH, you will sort of serve as an example and motivation to the next batches that come up. So any piece of advice or remarks for them?
I feel like IEEE is a very unique program at IIT Bombay because DDPs have a lot of potential in shaping our career. you just have to invest 1 year and you get a really good insight into the world of research. So I would suggest that even if you are remotely interested in research, you should definitely think about taking up IEEE because firstly, they help you to map your knowledge and the knowledge of the target department as well. So interdisciplinary always expands your horizons, right? Uh, so that's basically it. You should definitely consider taking IEEE. It's worth it, I think.
Right. And what will be your further course of action in the field, and how do you see it going forward?
So I'm not sure yet, but I might pursue further studies. But yeah, I too will decide depending upon the coming year.
Okay, thank you so much. So does anyone from the audience have any questions from any of the panel? All right. If not, then with that we come to the end of today's session. So yes, I'd like to thank Dr. Prasad and Professor Abir for their time, for answering all our questions so enthusiastically. So I'd like to also thank Akshit for sharing his experiences with us, and a huge thanks to Rekha ma'am and Smita ma'am for all their help and encouragement in organizing this session. And most importantly, thank you all for attending. Also, see you in tomorrow's interaction on digital health with Professor Pramod Gandhikar and Professor Amit Chetty. It will be held on the same MS Teams. Thank you.
Thanks, Devashish
Thank you so much.
and team.
Thank you, Devashish. Thanks. Thank
Thank you, ma'am.
you, sir.